Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. I've been having a very restful Sunday afternoon crocheting on my couch. But Ben just came in and asked me to come out and look at something, and then I had to grab my camera for this. So Benjamin heard Maya and I talking about our plans for projects over the next little bit. And one of the things that Maya has been planning to do is build a fire pit here in front of our house. And Ben decided that he wanted to build me a temporary fire pit while I waited for Maya to build the permanent fire pit. Look at that! Ben, you built this fire pit?
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's so wonderful. We were out here earlier and he had a shovel and he was digging a little bit, and Dad said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm building Mom a temporary fire pit till she can get her permanent one." Ben, this is beautiful work.
Dad said since that was so good, we could start a fire tonight.
Oh. Probably needed a little more kindling than that.
I know.
Yeah.
We're getting more.
Your kid.
Equally our kid.
That is a true statement. Once we decided to stay in this house and not try to build anything else, we made some plans to do some remodels. One big thing is we're gonna build a big screened-in porch on the front of this, and then so we're keeping that in mind when we set a fire pit area up. We'll probably set the fire pit area up so we can enjoy it this fall, but we're not going to try to do any of the remodels until after this year.
Light it up, big dog.
Yeah, I get my share. Wow, Ben, that's a great fire in the fire pit. I feel so warm. I feel really proud of you, Ben. You did a great job. Alright, well, we're going to enjoy a nice fall evening around the fire pit, and I'll catch up with you guys in the morning. You want to go outside? Come on, let's do it. When Bear sees me grab the camera, he knows we're about to go on the farm, and he always gets excited. Y'all, look, I painted my kitchen cabinets. I'm not done with all of them. I realized upon starting that I didn't have nearly enough paint, and I wanted to make sure that I could get this side completely done because this is where I film farmer's table videos, and so I didn't want to just do a first coat on the whole kitchen and then I have to wait for more paint to come in. So I feel pretty okay about this. I like it pretty good. It's this cabinet kit that I'll make a video kind of showing the process and telling you about it. I have the first coats on this, and then I still have to do this side. So I know that that's not really an ideal way of doing things, but I knew that if I waited for the ideal way of doing things, I would never do it. So I decided to do what was going to work for us, and I'm really happy with it. It makes it so much brighter in here, and I ordered hardware to redo this. If you have missed previous videos, or if you're new here, hey, glad you're here. We decided this summer, at the end of a very crushing summer, which we've done multiple sit-down talks sharing the whole process, that we were gonna stay in this house, as mentioned earlier in this video. Honestly, I've just poured myself into getting my house in order. That's just what I felt really strongly to do in this season, and that's looked like painting and organizing and making spacious spaces more functional and going through the junk drawers and just getting rid of stuff, and it has been so good for my heart. There is something so satisfying about making a home and having a home. I just think that if we really acknowledge the instinctual part of our nature, there is something deeply settling about making a home and having a home. But anyway, you know, this house, we bought this during 2021 when we were moving out here, this double wide. And when we bought it, there was nothing available. We basically hit all these walls, and we had already bought the property. We'd made the deal to sell our old house. We were moving 720 miles. We had got the ball rolling, and then we we're like, wait a second, our plan was to live in our RV and build a shop, but it was like post-COVID when lumber prices were insane and it wasn't gonna work. And so we were trying to scramble to be like, what do we do? And this house was available at a local place over in Augusta, Georgia. And they were willing to sell us the lot model. They like heard our story and made an exceptions and were willing to sell us the lot model. Everything was back ordered like over a year. So we bought this sight unseen. Like we had not, like all I had was a picture of the layout and I knew that it would be enough space for us with all our kids. And it has turned out to be such a great home. I love this home. But admittedly, like I hadn't really put a lot into customizing it. I hadn't painted anything. I hadn't done anything. So I was really approaching it with a very temporary mindset because we were gonna build a house. That was our plan. And the thing that I have really come to this year is like, you have to hold your plans with open hands. One, so you can receive the fulfillment of them, but also so you can let them go if need be. And that has been the journey of this year. And basically what happened is I finally was like, I have a great house, you know, like let's just stay here. And since then I've been making it feel more like us and more my style. So I wanted to brighten this kitchen up. I really like this kitchen, but it was a little dark. I like the gray cabinets. They are like, this is like a veneer, and so I felt okay about refinishing them, and I think it's gonna look really good. What do y'all think? So we had our first frost the other day up in the garden, which is like, I don't know, 500 feet down the driveway or so. A lot of things died down here by the house. They didn't. Microclimates are weird like that. I asked Maya to hold off on cutting these trees up. These two trees fell during Helene. So the optimum time to cut trees for the purpose of mushroom inoculation is when 30% of the leaves have begun changing. And it has to do with the moisture level in the wood and all that stuff. When these fell, we were like, well, it is what it is. But there are actually enough roots in this to keep it alive. So they actually haven't died, even though they fell over. A lot of people suggested, well, you can stand it back up and sometimes they'll live. We opted not to do that because this is right by our kids' playhouse, and I don't know that I would feel secure with the weight of them, and we do actually get hurricane level winds. I mean, it's not unusual. We're 2 hours from the coast in South Carolina, so I didn't want to do that, but I asked Maya if he could just wait a few weeks because the leaves are about to start changing, and wait to cut this up and clean it up, so that I can save all the branches for mushroom inoculation. And then of course a lot of it's gonna be firewood. Hey, what's up?
My lady.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna go get just like a half bale of alfalfa hay that was left over from the goats. I've been feeding it to the sheep.
Oh, cool. Can I come with?
Let's ride.
Come on, Bear. The babies are getting so fluffy. Hey, little cuties. So bright out here. So Maya moved the sheep over to this side. We were running them on the other side of the pond. We could have kept doing that. This is closer to the water source, and also in the winter it is really best to pull vulnerable animals like sheep in, just because food sources are less readily available to predators. Now, we haven't really dealt with like coyotes or anything coming up onto our farm. But they are around. And these are in an electric fence, which is definitely a deterrent to something like that. It's just kind of, is it fully necessary to pull them in closer to the house? It's probably fine, but why not? You know, err on the side of caution. So you're going to be changing things up with the chickens, aren't you?
Yeah, that's why they're still in the same paddocks that they've been in for a while. I'm going to be consolidating both coops. So we're probably going to retire for the time being. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but the chickshaw, I'm going to put everyone in this one. Yeah. And then I'm going to move it over to the space in between the high tunnels in the garden.
Yeah. Just over the years, like we've sold chickens, you know, we've lost some. Some of these girls are kind of old. But we're just going to put them all together in this coop because our 2 flocks consolidated will fit in this. We'll just have 1 flock together. So we've been talking here recently about downsizing a lot of things. We sold off some cattle. We're basically just reining in a lot of our systems, if you will, to just make them more manageable and really just focus on producing what our family needs. And one of those things is, like, we really just don't need this much garden space. I'm still preserving. I still will keep a very stocked pantry, but I don't need this much garden space. I want to focus more on eating seasonally and using everything that we're growing. I don't need to grow a bunch of excess. With that, I'm paring down the garden. It's still going to be really large. As it is, like, I'm keeping all this raised bed space, which, Maya, what is this? This is 60 feet wide. This wide angle lens makes everything look so much more massive than it is. I mean, it's still a large space. 60 feet wide and like maybe 110, 120 feet.
How many downs is that on? I'm not good at guessing numbers.
I think it's 120. I think I figured that out once because I think that raised bed garden is like 60 by 60 and then this is about that same space. And of course that includes the greenhouse too.
Sure. And what's it?
The cottage garden. Did you call it a weedy garden?
Well, I was going to say
if the shoe fits.
The not food garden.
We're going to fence this in. That's one of the plans for this winter is kind of refencing the garden and putting back garden gates and arbors and stuff like that. People have asked me, are you not going to do that? It's been on the list, but I think this is the season that it's going to happen.
No, that's part of the reason for downsizing.
Is what? To be able to tackle the list. Not be so busy all the time. Yeah. The high tunnels will stay. So with the 2 high tunnels and the raised bed garden, I can actually grow really, I mean, plenty of food for our family. This whole middle space, we're talking about some different things here. Maya had some ideas. We were out here last night for probably, what, an hour or so, just walking around and chatting about it. And he had something, this surprised me, the suggestion that you wanted to put in here.
Oh, well, I feel like Jessica needs, yeah, I thought we're talking about downsizing and then we're also talking about adding some animals. So it's, you know, it's a give and take. You win some, you lose some. You know, sell some cattle, buy more chickens. I think we're going to do like a small permanent run, small coop for some novelty chickens for Jess. Yeah. You know, she really loves, I don't know, to me, I'm like, they lay such tiny eggs, it's kind of pointless. It's like, you know, can you make me a 37 egg omelet? Oh, Silkies. What was the other stuff?
Millifleurs.
What is that?
They're kind of like calico colored and they've got muff beards and then they have 5 toes, feathered legs. They're just really cute.
Yeah, cutesy chickens.
Bantam cochins. Okay. Maybe top hats.
So it's going to be like 15 or so.
I want a flock I can like name pets. These will be 10, like my.
And that way we'll settle at 15. If I say 15, you may make it 20. On this video, we're saying 10, which means really 15.
I want pet chickens. That's what this is. Like, we were discussing what to do with this flock, and he was saying he just wants to consolidate it. That's going to be our egg-laying flock. And the thing is with those is they have a dual purpose. They lay eggs, but also we move that flock around where we need them. So we can run them behind cattle. We can use them to also break down manure, and they have like a permaculture purpose. But with that, like, they're not handled, they're not very friendly, they're usually not super conveniently located to take like garden scraps, or, you know, I mean, they're not pets.
No.
And that's fine, but I miss having pet chickens. And I have told Jeremiah that, so he suggested, what if we did like a little permanent coop here with like a novelty flock for you to have some pet chickens.
Well, since we're not going to be putting it, like, garden space in, like, we got to do something with this space.
I love the idea. So yeah, they won't have access to the garden. I don't want them getting in my stuff, but they'll be right here.
Right in here. And, you know, with 15 birds, like, eventually they're probably going to, like, scratch all this grass out, but I'm already planning on making some shifts in, like, the way, well, we actually already have made some shifts in, like, our pigs. I'm going to be doing some deep litter stuff.
So that's what we'll probably do
I'll
here.
just deep litter this,
yeah,
and then scrape it out, which kind of leads into the next thing. Like, I think to the right.
Let's come down here.
So after the chicken coop
so this will be like just a narrow, you know, 15-ish foot run that runs the length of the garden for those chickens.
I think we're going to set up compost bins. You know, this summer we met Charles Dowding in person, and, you know, compost.
Compost. He's so delightful.
So I think we're going to try some of his methods and just do some composting and just, like, trying to actually figure that out. I know we've tried that before.
Yeah, well, we just want to set up some spaces. I love how Charles does it. I think it's so accessible.
I got his book. I'm just going to follow his
yeah.
instructions, and if it's not successful, I can message him on Instagram.
Yeah, right. It's not going to be unsuccessful. It's Charles Dowding. So yeah, we're going to do kind of set up that composting system here. So this will be kind of open.
Probably do some kind of tool shed.
Yeah, like
something to put, like, the post drivers, the shovels. Like,
well, right now the greenhouse is a catch-all, but then we have to routinely go in there.
It's also spread out into the red barn. It's spread out into the silver barns. It's spread out into that building, because there's nowhere for it to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And then we're talking about doing in this area also some. I want to do some muscadine trellises. That'll be pretty hands-off most of the year. Y'all see where up here is where the frost killed everything. I think the reason the frost, this is a little side note, I think the reason the frost killed more up here is that those big pine trees block the morning sun, and so these sat with frost on them for a lot longer. Anyway, this area right here is where I have the most established soil in the in-ground. And so off of the high tunnel a little bit, this is where we'll till and do potatoes and sweet potatoes. So that's the only thing that I'm going to be growing in ground. So a little bit of this will still stay garden area. And then of course the high tunnels we'll still use for production. But I feel really good about this. I think that having, you know, some cute chickens, more functional garden structures with getting our compost system going. With the shed, we'll have a little bit more space. I'm gonna really concentrate the worm farming efforts there. And with the shed, we'll also do
water catchment.
Yeah, we're gonna do water catchment, rain catchment, and then what was the other thing?
I'm not sure.
Oh, for making compost tea. Have kind of like a dedicated space for making compost tea. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. Of course, we have our berries down on that end. We have the orchard down on the other end. And so kind of making this central space. And oh, one thing I was thinking, kind of where the compost is in the garden shed, kind of having a patio-ish area where I could set up a couple of tables. I would really like to be able to do like some seed starting classes and some different things like that and be able to host some things. Of course, the shop is going to give us the community space, but some outdoor community space would be nice. But I feel pretty excited.
I think it's a good pivot.
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 Oh, look at Bosco out there rolling around in the grass. I love watching horses roll. I think it's the funniest thing. Oh, look. And Josie went down too. Nice scratch. I don't know why I think that's so funny. By the end of every year out in the garden, I pledge to myself that next year I'm going to be a more tidy and organized gardener. Do you think it will happen?
If I'm involved. I just look at this and I'm like, need to cut all that down. You've gotten too out of hand. Chop, chop.
While I'm over here when something gets out of hand, I'm like, you go, you go.
Be free.
It's not as great now, but this was actually my favorite part of the garden this year, is right here where we're sitting. This is where I would take a sit to have a rest.
It's a good, good sitting space.
Under the shade cloth, and right here where all this grew up really big. My toxic trait is that in October I'm already thinking of April. I'm trying to be more present in my life. You know?
I do know.
October's too good to just wish away.
I agree.
All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We bless you. Until next time.